Hello and welcome to According to Karen B. I'm going to insert a trigger warning right here, right now. It is to do with suicide, so if you do not want to be triggered, or you think you might be triggered, or that you just might find it upsetting or distressing, too close to home, whatever, then please stop watching now, because this vlog is not worth damaging your health. So please stop. I wasn't originally going to do a vlog on this, but there's just been so much I've seen and so much going on that I feel like I've got a few things that I want to say about it. If you don't live in the UK, or you have been living under a rock, then you may not know that the presenter Caroline Flack took her life a couple of weeks ago. This video isn't going to be specifically about Caroline Flack. Obviously, I don't know her, I've never met her, I don't know all the ins and outs of her mental health, of her life, and that is also not my business and not the newspaper or media's business either, and I'm not going to be speculating on the hows and whys of her doing it. But the reason I mentioned it is because obviously people felt connected to her, as in they watched Love Island or X Factor or saw her on Strictly or whatever, and they felt like they knew her and were connected to her. Obviously no one did, but they felt that way. So people have been obviously putting their sympathies out there and talking about it on social media. It's all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then all over the news, the newspapers, the news online, the news on the TV, just absolutely everywhere. As much as it's nice, people actually talking about mental health and bullying, not just online bullying, but bullying in general, and how damaging that is to your mental health when it's sort of ongoing, and the sort of pile-on tactic a lot of people do on social media when they don't actually know a person or know the full situation, but they still try and attack that person. Obviously this is really damaging, and she's sort of demonstrating how damaging that could be in a way, and it's getting people talking about it, which is good. But there is another problem that happens when people die from suicide, and we have all this coverage everywhere. The thing is, a lot of the people who are writing about suicide and their thoughts and how sad everything is about mental health are people who don't normally talk about it, or don't have any mental health problems themselves, or have not felt so bad that they have wanted to take their own life before, or thought about it or whatever. And that is what basically I'm finding a big problem. Because people aren't putting things like trigger warnings. So I was watching a video from a well-known vlogger, and she was talking with a friend about anxiety and stuff, and it's great that she's using her platform to talk about mental health and to help break that stigma and the shame around talking or admitting that you've got mental health. No problem with that. But because she doesn't normally talk about it, because she hasn't had, by the sounds of it, obviously I don't know her, so I might be wrong, serious mental health problems herself, where she's been at that stage where she's wanted to take her own life, it has meant that she doesn't know how to approach it properly, and there was no trigger warning on her video. I usually watch her videos, so I was watching it anyway. I didn't know that that was what it was going to be about. So I was watching a vlog, a sort of like a pastime, and then it was like, woo, right there. People who talk about it, even if it's just a post, if you were going to mention suicide, you need to put a trigger warning. Same with things to do with trauma, things sexual assault, stuff like that. You need to put a trigger warning, because not everyone has had the same experiences as you in life, and it can be extremely traumatic. You are actually helping people with mental health problems and helping them cope with them if you actually put a trigger warning on stuff, because then they just won't watch it. Like, they know what they can cope with, what they can't. Some days they can cope with more things than other days, and they can make that judgment, they can make that call themselves. You're giving us and everyone a choice. You're giving that choice to you, and I think it's really important that if you're going to talk about things like that, you need to put a trigger warning, because I cannot tell you how triggering all this stuff can be and how dangerous it can be. Even though it is also good, it can also be bad. So why are things about suicide and I guess the methods of suicide triggering or distressing for people with mental health problems, or have had mental health problems previously? Well, there's a few reasons. So I'll use Caroline Flack as an example, because obviously she's more recent, so you're aware of that. Most people will look at the news and see about her and feel sad and just think it's such a shame, because she was, young and pretty, not that that's got anything to do with it, and seemingly successful and all this kind of thing, that people feel sad, because anyone dying, especially when they're young, is really sad. And, you know, and obviously you wouldn't be human if you just looked at it and thought, oh, who cares? You know, that's just, there's something wrong with people who are just like, whatever. Even if you don't particularly like the person or know the person, like, normal people don't rejoice at someone having died. But for people with mental health problems, or have had mental health problems, it's a lot deeper than that. So for me, I know what it feels like to feel suicidal. So I know that feeling of hopelessness, despair, the fact that things are never going to change, the feeling of feeling so tired, like not just sleepy tired, but that just so exhausted with trying and life in general, that this seems like the only option. And, you know, and people do try and change their lives. You know, you've tried, you've taken the antidepressants, you've gone to a counsellor, you've drunk more water, you've done exercise, you know, you've done meditation, you've gone on holiday, you've talked about it to your friend, to the dog, to your parents, to the pigeon on the corner of the road or whatever, you know. You've done all that, but you still feel really tired, exhausted, and just fed up of fighting. So when you see people like Caroline having taken their own life, it brings back all those feelings and all those just horrible memories, because it was a really, obviously, to feel like that, it's a bad time in your life. You don't want to be reminded of feeling like that, but it's everywhere, and you're constantly getting reminders of a really sad and awful time in your life. The other reason I find it quite sad hearing about these things is because I somehow, I don't know how, got through that part of my life, and even though obviously I still have lots of problems with my mental health, I've never felt as low as that since, so far. And I think of all the things that I've done in my life that I wouldn't have done if I wasn't here, all the people, amazing people I've met, things I've seen, and it makes me sad because I think, oh my God, if she could have just held on for like, and it's, I don't even know, it's so hard, it's not as easy, oh, just hold on, you literally, I can't even describe it, you feel so powerless, like everything's taking over and you have no control over it. And I just wish that somehow that had managed to pass for her and she'd carried on. And yeah, and it makes me feel sad because I know that that feeling, that helplessness, that never-ending feeling of the failure, feeling like everything's lost or hope's lost, does pass. It does pass. And it just doesn't feel like it at the time, though. You feel like it's never going to go. It's like all consuming and it's all you can see. And that makes me sad as well because, oh, yeah, it just makes me feel sad. Another thing that can be very triggering for people is the discussion of the methods that people use to take their own life. Now, I know this happened with Caroline Flack. Obviously, some people have tried to take their own life and not been successful, and they may have used these methods, so that can be triggering because, again, it's going back to a time that is really an awful time for them in their life, and they don't really want to be reminded about it, obviously. Who does? And for some people with mental health problems, they think a lot about even taking their own life, even if they've not necessarily actually attempted it as of yet. It may be something that they think a lot about in low times. So again, that can be quite triggering because it's bringing those low times back again. Samaritans have done research into talking about suicide. Asking someone if they feel suicide doesn't mean that they're suddenly going to want to do that. It is a path, a journey. For some people it's shorter than others, and as I said before, I don't know why some people stay and some people go. I don't know how I got through it myself. I have no idea, and I couldn't say for definite that if I ever felt that low again, I would never go through with it, even though I didn't last time, because I just literally don't know. I couldn't tell you how people get through and people don't. But I know from my personal experience that I still consider now one of the most selfish things I've ever done is actually staying. And I think a lot of people think that it is selfish to take their own life. It's part of a stigma, part of something that is sort of inbred in people over the years, but is actually not true. I won't go into that so much because I don't want to trigger myself either, because that wouldn't be good. But I wanted to do this video. I felt like it was important because I don't just make these videos for people who already have mental health illnesses, though obviously I do, because it helps you feel less alone hearing about other people's experience, like ordinary people like me, experiences in the way we sort of navigate life. But it's also to try and educate other people who don't have mental illnesses, or maybe people who know somebody with a mental illness that they're trying to support or trying to be there for. That's what these videos are for. And I think little things can make a massive difference. Things like just putting a trigger warning at the beginning of posts that contain quite stressful things or traumatic things or triggering things, and knowing what, you know, those triggering things are, can help a lot for us people who are dealing with mental health problems on a day-to-day basis. Like, the journey has ended for Caroline Flack. She is at peace now and resting. But for a lot of us, we are still here and we are still going through the life and everything with the mental health problems and trying to navigate and trying to stay as healthy as possible. We're still here, we're still pushing. And just because a celebrity has died doesn't mean that everybody else on the planet who battles mental health problems every day and all the different types that you can have gone as well. Well, we're still here and we're still fighting, and she's not the only person who died from suicide this year, and she won't be the last. It is something that needs a lot more awareness on, a lot more funding, a lot more understanding, just a lot of things. And that's what these videos, that's why I do these videos, that's why I open up and talk about things about myself and things as well, is to try and help educate people. So if you, I was going to say share this, but I'm a bit cautious about it. Make sure you put a trigger warning on if you're going to share this video, even though I know I do say it at the beginning as well. Because I do want, obviously, people to understand and things, but I don't want to upset or make the last few weeks have already been stressful and hard and triggering. I don't want to, like, make it worse for people already dealing with this stuff. So anyway, I'll stop rambling now. So thank you so much for watching. As always, if you could like and subscribe to my channel, I will be forever grateful. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.